Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us for part 2 of our series on the American River Bike Trail. In part 1, we took the trail from Folsom to Beals Point and around to the Johnny Cash Trail. Today we start in Gold River on Sunrise Boulevard and head north to Folsom. This area has trail on both sides of the river, so we'll do the west side trail first, cross at Folsom, and come back on the east side. This will be a 20-mile loop. The trail here runs all the way from Highway 50 before getting on the river, but we're starting at the corner of Gold Country Boulevard and Sunrise. There's a large parking lot here with a good choice of food stops for pre- and post-ride meals. The ubiquitous Starbucks is usually crowded, and there's my favorite, Blaze Pizza. Here we just crossed Gold Country Boulevard heading to Sunrise, which is just up ahead. You turn right on Sunrise and it takes you right to the river. Here's one of the popular raft rental establishments. Rafting the American River is very popular, and if you come to the trail in the summer on a hot day, and especially on a holiday, the river will be full of rafters happily cooking in the sun. Be careful here for cars entering the park. Here you normally take a right-hand turn to get on the main section of trail, but we're going to go straight to show you the Fair Oaks Bridge and the quaint town of Fair Oaks. And now we come to the Fair Oaks Bridge. The Fair Oaks Bridge was the third bridge to be built on this location after two others were washed away in floods. Built in 1907 at a cost of $63,000, it's a double truss bridge, and because of its historical and architectural significance, it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2006. It's called the Pennsylvania Pettit through Pratt Truss Bridge. Closed to automobile traffic in 1967, it's now a pedestrian and bike bridge that takes you right into the town of Fair Oaks. We've got a bit of an uphill here, but I think it's worth it to take a look at the town. Looking a bit like we just stepped into the 1940s, here is Fair Oaks. Fair Oaks was proclaimed the crown of the Sacramento Valley in the heart of California by promoters in the late 1800s trying to get fruit farmers to move to and settle the area, and by 1897 there were 300 permanent residents setting up fruit farms on their acreage. At that point in time, $30 an acre. You can still find many independent businesses here, antique shops, bakeries, and this biker bar, eat, drink, play, bicycle shop, and cafe. But the real stars of Fair Oaks are the chickens. Where all the chickens came from is somewhat of a mystery, but there are over 200 chickens in Fair Oaks. Leaving Fair Oaks behind, we cross back over the Fair Oaks Bridge and take a short right-hand turn at the bottom to show you another crossing. here's one of the more popular areas for launching rafts. This takes us right to the Jim Jones footbridge. Amazingly, in winter months when we have a lot of rain, this bridge is completely underwater. If you follow the trail from the bridge here, it takes you to Bannister Park, another popular area for starting rides. We've had so little rain this year, the river is very slow moving. Makes for a great place to hang out on those long, hot summer days. Fun fact, I used to fly fish in this area. I used to cut the hooks off the flies because I didn't want to hurt the fish, and then I just got tired of bugging them. They thought they were getting something to eat and I was just messing with their heads, so I moved on to something else. We're back on the trail heading north towards Folsom. Most of the trail here is relatively flat. Now we come to a fork in the road. The trail continues on both sides of the river, so you get to decide which way you want to go. If you go to your right, you'll cross Hazel Avenue and continue to the right side of the trail. If you go to your left, you will go over Hazel and continue on the other side of the trail. But first, let's take a stop at the Nimbus Fish Hatchery. The Nimbus Fish Hatchery was built in the late 1950s to replace salmon and steelhead that were cut off from their spawning grounds when the Folsom and Nimbus dams were built in 1958. Everything was locked up when we visited, so we can't show you much except this nice overview of the hatchery. Leaving the fish hatchery, we are going to eventually turn left here. If you go straight, you will hit Hazel, and you will make a left there, and you will head across Hazel to the east side of the river. But again, we're going to be taking a left sooner right here, and we're going to be going up the Hazel Bridge and going to the west side of the river. If this all sounds horribly confusing, don't worry about it. Just follow the other cyclists, they'll know where to go. Now normally to get to the east side of the river here, you can just make a left and go underneath the Hazel Bridge, but they're doing some construction work, so they have it all shut down, as you can see. Hopefully it won't be too long before they open it up again. This Hazel Bridge crossing is really nice. It's completely isolated from cars. You have it all to yourself. Once you get to the top of the bridge, you have a great downhill run. And here is the aforementioned Nimbus Dam, built in 1958. And right down here in the water is a very popular place for salmon and steelhead fishermen. On the other side of the dam is Lake Natoma and the Aquatic Center. And here's a look at the Nimbus Aquatic Center. Most of the action takes place on the far shore, but we'll be taking a better look at that as we loop around the river. On the trail, you'll notice many piles of stones in some areas. These are actually gold dredge tailing piles caused by this, a gold dredge. After the surface gold ran out in the 1800s, there was still money to be made for larger mining operations that could bring in dredges. This is one of my favorite spots on the trail, a steep downhill that bottoms out right at the edge of the river. You can feel the temperature drop at least 5 degrees as you go down. It's really great in the summer months, but in the winter it gets even colder. We're now approaching an interesting part of the trail. This is a rock slide area. They have a lot of major rock slides here, and up to the left are some very steep cliffs, and some huge boulders come down off those cliffs. So keep pedaling, there's no stopping allowed here. Here's Joe standing in front of one of the big rock slides they had a few years ago. This shut the trail down for quite some time. And now we're approaching Folsom, and we're going to be going underneath the new Folsom Bridge, which you saw in the last video. Very interesting underneath here, nice and cool. Just before we cross into Folsom, we come upon a very popular area for recreating. A lot of boulders, a lot of nice little beach area here. just beautiful. We're now almost in Folsom, passing under the Rainbow Bridge, and we are approaching the 1800s truss bridge, which you saw in our last segment. If you went straight here, you would go up to Beals Point, but we are going to be making a right onto the truss bridge. For the full history of the truss bridge, check out our video Part 1 of the American River Bike Trail. As we approach Old Town Folsom, there's the Johnny Cash Trail exit on your left. This part of the trail is brand new, and it's really nice because it's raised up off of the street. If you watched the last video in this series, you'll remember Karen's Bakery, a popular biking destination, which is to the right here. There are a number of different trail entrances here. At this point, you can go to the right into the hotel parking lot, and there's an entrance there. You can also go the way we are going today, which is right across the front of the new bridge, and then we'll make a right after that. Okay, almost there. Now the only thing you have to remember is to make a left-hand turn right at the bottom of this hill. Otherwise you will go back across the new bridge and you will be back on the other side of the trail. This is something brand new. I've never seen it before. A historic marker put up by an Eagle Scout. Across the river here are the cliffs and rock slide area we rode through earlier. More gold dredge tailing piles in this area. As you approach this little bridge, be aware that there's an exit on the left-hand side right when you cross the bridge, but first we're going to check out the recreation area off to the right. We are now approaching the Willow Creek Recreation Area. This is a nice place to stop and take a rest. It's got some nice bathrooms, and if you're lucky you might spot 1 or 2 eagles that are nesting in the area. Okay, now about that exit after the bridge. Now we'll check that out. This is called the Willow Creek Trail, and it goes all the way out to Folsom Boulevard, but the best part is it dead ends in a parking lot with a Jamba Juice and a Dos Coyotes Mexican restaurant. Both have outdoor seating so you can watch your bike or your trikes while you eat. Directly in front of us is the outdoor eating area for Dos Coyotes. There's a little gate so you can enter right there. I wanted to mention that this parking lot seems strangely dangerous to me. It's very tight, a lot of cars doing crazy things, so I don't care how many flags or lights you have on your trikes. I would get up and walk my trike around here just to be on the safe side. Okay, now we're back on the trail just a few hundred yards south of Willow Creek Recreation Area. There is another exit to Folsom Boulevard, and here you will find outlet stores, a food court with Taco Bell, a McDonald's, a Burger King, just about anything you can think of you can find over here across the street. Okay, now this is a tricky little downhill with a hairpin turn. We actually helped Lance Armstrong's high school football coach walk out of here when he crashed on his bike and broke his collarbone. Now this is a unique bridge. It's unique because it's got 5 or 6 signs that say no diving, but every time I ride across, there are always kids diving off it. I guess it's the no diving bridge. We are now approaching the Lake Natoma recreation area, and that is Lake Natoma straight ahead. We were on the other side of the lake earlier, and this was, as I promised, the busy side of the lake. They rent all kinds of watercraft here, paddle boards, canoes. I see some sailboats out there that I believe may be for rent. As you can see, it's a very popular area. There is a 5-mile-per-hour speed limit here, so you won't see things like jet skis or speedboats on this little lake. There's a major crew competition that happens here all the time. I see it. People come from all over the country to compete in this lake. That's really something to see. And that is the Nimbus Dam out in the distance. And that way out in the distance is the Hazel Bridge that we crossed earlier in the day. After crossing back over Hazel Boulevard, we are headed back to Sunrise and where we parked the car. On the right side of the trail here, you'll see the Department of Fish and Game. One time we were riding by and they had an absolutely gigantic mountain lion on the hood of their truck. Right before we get to Sunrise, on the way back, you get to the low point in the trail where you have just direct access to the river here. Wow, you can see how little water there is this time of year. During the rainy season, if we have a decent amount of rain, this all floods up and the bike trail is impassable. We're almost home, now approaching a boat launch, which is right before the exit we need to take to get back onto Sunrise. Directly above us, you'll see the Fair Oaks Bridge that we crossed earlier today. And here's our exit. Make sure you signal. One more turn to your right, and we are out of the park and back on to Sunrise. Thanks very much for joining us for Part 2 of the American River Bike Trail. In Part 3, we'll be leaving from the Gold River area and heading down to California State University, Sacramento. See you then!